The text came in at 10:07 a.m. on a Tuesday, the chirp of my phone cutting through the focused quiet of my home office. I was finalizing the licensing agreement for my third and most profitable mobile app, a calming puzzle game that had somehow captured the zeitgeist of collective anxiety. The numbers on the screen were a satisfying sight, the result of 4 years of 80-hour weeks, ramen noodle dinners, and a stubborn refusal to fail. I swiped the notification, expecting a message from my lawyer or my business partner, Leo. It was from my brother, Julian. Not a call. Never a call. A text, cold and efficient. Julian, asterisk family year-end party is at the Vanderbilt Club on the 30th, black tie. 7 p.m. I need your final head count for the caterer by end of day, asterisk. My heart did a little, stupid leap. The Vanderbilt Club. The family year-end party. This was the inner sanctum, the holy grail of my parents' social calendar. In our 28 years of shared history, I, Sloane, had never been deemed a final head count for the main event. My role was auxiliary, the family and friends brunch on the first, a casual, noisy affair at my parents' house where spills were tolerated and conversation was about football. The Vanderbilt Club event was for showcasing the successful, polished branches of the family tree. It was for Julian, the golden child hedge fund manager, and his impeccably bred wife, Celeste. It was for my aunt, the circuit court judge, and her surgeon husband. It was for the display of generational wealth and taste, a night where the word class was wielded like a ceremonial sword. And he'd included me. A flush of warmth spread through my chest. Maybe, finally, after the app's explosive success and the Forbes 30 Under 30 feature, they were ready to see me as more than the awkward, artistic younger sister who built cute little games. Maybe they saw me as a peer. My thumbs flew over the screen, a smile playing on my lips. Me, asterisk wow, the Vanderbilt Club. Of course, count me in. +1 likely, we'll confirm with Leo by tonight. Thanks, Julian, asterisk. The 3 typing dots appeared, then disappeared, appeared again. A full minute passed. My smile faltered. Finally, the response. Julian, asterisk Sloane. Regarding the +1. And frankly, regarding your attendance. Mom and Dad and I discussed it. The Vanderbilt Club has certain standards. The guest list is very curated. It's not really your scene. Leo is a great guy, but he's a Silicon Valley guy. T-shirts and big ideas. The club is old school. It's about elegance. Tradition, asterisk. The warmth in my chest turned to ice. I read it again. Julian, we think it's best you sit this one out. The brunch on the first will be much more your speed. No offense. It's just, you're not classy enough for this kind of party. Don't make it a thing. The words hung on my screen, pixelated and brutal. You're not classy enough. I stared until the letters blurred. A high-pitched ringing started in my ears, drowning out the hum of my computer. I felt a physical pain, a sharp twist right beneath my sternum, as if his words were a corkscrew to the heart. It wasn't just Julian. We think it's best. Mom and Dad. They had discussed me. They had collectively assessed my worth, my polish, my fundamental class, and found me deficient. Unfit for the inner circle. The Forbes list, the 7-figure bank account, the company I'd built from my college dorm room. None of it could bleach out the essential, irredeemable middle-classness they saw in my soul. Because I wore Converse with my blazers. Because Leo had a sleeve tattoo. Because my success was digital, new money, unsanctioned by the right schools or the right clubs. It was messy. It was unclassy. Tears threatened, hot, and humiliating. I swallowed them back. A hard, painful gulp. The old wounds, the ones from a lifetime of never quite measuring up, split open. Julian, effortlessly gliding through prep school and Ivy League leagues. Me, the scholarship kid at state school, my eccentric, art project side over. Julian's wedding at the cathedral, my suggestion of a small museum reception met with averted eyes. I had spent a lifetime trying to fold myself into their origami world, always ending up a crumpled, wrong-shaped paper. But this was different. This wasn't a sidelong glance or a passive-aggressive comment over Christmas turkey. This was a formal decree, a banishment. In writing, a strange calm descended over me, colder and clearer than any anger. The tears dried up. The pain in my chest solidified into something dense and unyielding, resolve. I picked up my phone. My hands were steady. Me, true. My party is somewhere else. Enjoy the canapes. I hit send. Then I blocked his number. For a long moment, I just sat there in the silence of my sunlit office, in the beautiful, airy loft I owned outright in a neighborhood Julian would call trendy but unproven. I looked at my hands, the hands that had coded this empire. I looked at the abstract painting on my wall, bought from a struggling artist friend, vibrant and chaotic and alive. I looked at the vintage record player next to a state-of-the-art gaming console. This was my world. It was curated, intentional, and filled with things I loved. It was not classy by their brittle, gilded standards. It was better. I opened a new browser tab. I didn't go to social media. I didn't call Leo to rant. I went to the website of a high-end yacht brokerage based in Monaco. The Vanderbilt Club incident, as I came to think of it, was the final, clarifying tremor before the earthquake. I didn't confront my parents. I simply disengaged. When my mother called a few days later, her voice a masterpiece of faux concern, Julian said there was a little misunderstanding about the party, sweetheart. You know how he is with details. I didn't rise to it. No misunderstanding, Mom, I said, my voice pleasant. The message was clear. I've made other plans for New Year's. Other plans? But the family brunch. I won't be attending the brunch either. I'll be out of the country. A stunned silence. Sloane, this is the extreme. It's the holidays. It is, I agreed. Which is why I'm choosing to spend them in a way that brings me joy, not judgment. Give my love to Dad. I hung up, my heart hammering, but my spirit felt lighter than it had in years. The cord wasn't cut, but I had taken the knife in my own hand. My actual plans were already in motion. Leo, bless him, had responded to my furious, tearful recounting of the text with a long whistle, and then, fuck him. Let's go buy a spaceship. The yacht wasn't a spaceship, but it was the next best thing. I'd been toying with the idea for a year. A mobile office, a place to truly disconnect, to brainstorm with my team in inspiring locales. Now, it had a new, sharper purpose. I worked with the broker, a wonderfully no-nonsense Frenchwoman named Elodie. You want to buy New Year's? C'est ambitieux, mais on peut le faire. We found her, a stunning, 80-foot motor yacht, sleek and modern, named Horizon's Edge. She was available for a last-minute purchase. The paperwork was a whirlwind. I liquidated some stock, secured financing with laughable ease given my company's valuation, and became the owner of a very large boat. Then I called the marina in Antibes. I'd like to book a New Year's Eve berth. The largest, most visible one you have, please. And I need a renaming ceremony on the 30th. Next, my friends. My real family. The ones who'd slept on my floor when I was prototyping, who'd celebrated my wins with cheap champagne and genuine screams, who loved Leo's tattoos and my mismatched china. I sent out a blast. New Year's Eve. French Riviera. My yacht. Black tie optional. Good vibes mandatory. No classiness required. The responses were immediate and ecstatic. A dozen of my closest, a mix of tech friends, artist friends, and the wonderful, weird diaspora of people who don't fit in neat boxes, booked their flights. Finally, I called a custom sign maker in Nice. I gave them the name. I gave them the font. Bold, contemporary, undeniable. I need it installed, with lighting, on the 30th, I said. Oui, madam. It will be done. The last week of December was a blur of frantic, joyful preparation. Leo and I flew to Nice on the 28th. The first sight of Horizon's Edge took my breath away. She was all clean lines and polished teak, imposing and graceful. She's a beaut, Leo murmured, slinging an arm around my shoulders. A giant fuck you with a jacuzzi on the flybridge. It's not a fuck you, I said, leaning into him. It's a hello me. On the morning of the 30th, the sign makers came. Leo made me stay below deck, pouring us coffee in the spacious, minimalist salon. It's bad luck for you to see it before the ceremony, he said, eyes twinkling. I could hear the whir of drills, the muffled French commands. My stomach was a nest of excited butterflies. The ceremony was set for 5 p.m., just as the winter sun began to soften the sky into a watercolor of pink and gold. The marina was sparkling, bobbing with the white hulls of millionaire playthings. My friends had started to arrive, oohing and awing, shedding their travel wear for sleek cocktail attire. There was music, laughter, the pop of champagne corks. Elodie the broker presided, a flute of champagne in hand. A vessel carries the spirit of its owner, she said in her accented English, smiling at our small, cheering crowd. It is only right she bears a name that reflects that spirit. With this champagne, I christen you, no longer Horizon's Edge." She nodded to a crew member. A cord was pulled. A draped covering over the stern fell away. There, in backlit, elegant stainless steel letters, was the new name. Not classy enough. A roar of laughter and applause went up from my friends. They got it, immediately and completely. Leo hooped. I stood there, a glass of champagne in my hand, looking at the words that had once felt like a branding iron on my skin. Now, emblazoned on the pristine stern of my own yacht, they were a badge of honor. A reclamation. They were funny and bold and mine. The ultimate inside joke, with the whole Mediterranean as the audience. I kissed Leo. I hugged my friends. The party was just beginning. We had a chef on board preparing a feast. The plan was to have a magnificent dinner in the marina, then watch the famed fireworks from the water. At around 7:30 p.m., as twilight deepened into a velvet blue, I was on the flybridge, wrapped in a cashmere blanket, pointing out a super yacht to a friend. That's when I saw them. A group of people, stiff and dark-clad like a murder of crows, stood frozen on the immaculate dock, staring up at my boat. The marina lighting was dramatic, perfectly illuminating my yacht's stern and its new name. My father, tall and rigid in his tuxedo. My mother, clutching her fur stole, her mouth a perfect, shocked O. Julian, his face a thundercloud of fury, his hand gripping Celeste's elbow. Celeste herself looked like she'd been slapped. And behind them, a few of my aunt and uncle, the judge and the surgeon, their expressions mirror images of bewildered disdain. The Vanderbilt Club party. It must have started with a dockside cocktail hour. They'd stepped out for air and found this. For a long, suspended moment, there was only the lap of water against the hull and the distant sound of my friend's laughter from the salon below. Then Julian's voice cut through the night, loud, strangled, and utterly devoid of its usual cool control. "Is that her? Is that Sloane?" All heads on the dock turned to follow his pointing, trembling finger. It landed on me, standing above them all on the flybridge, champagne glass in hand, the blanket slipping from my shoulders to reveal a simple, stunning black silk jumpsuit. The silence that followed was profound. My mother's hand flew to her throat. My father took a step forward, peering as if he couldn't believe his eyes. I didn't move. I didn't wave. I simply looked down at them, a small, serene smile on my face. I took a slow, deliberate sip of my champagne. It was my friend, Anya, who broke the standoff. She popped her head up from the stairs, a glass of rose in hand. "Sloane, babe, the caviar station is insane. You have to oh." She followed my gaze to the dock. She saw the tuxedos, the fury, the shock. Anya, a fiercely loyal graphic designer from Brooklyn who had zero patience for pretension, grinned. She leaned over the railing and called out, her voice bright and carrying. "Hey, you guys looking for the classy party? It's back that way." She jerked a thumb over her shoulder, back toward the hushed, traditional glow of the Vanderbilt Club. Julian made a sound like a tea kettle boiling over. He took 2 jerky steps toward the passerelle, the gangplank, which was up and secured. "Sloane, what the hell is this? Is this some kind of joke?" I finally spoke, my voice calm and clear, carrying easily in the quiet marina. "Hello, Julian. Mother. Father. Lovely evening, isn't it?" I gestured with my glass toward the sign. "I took your feedback to heart." My father found his voice. "Sloane, this is unconscionable. A public spectacle. Have you lost your mind?" "On the contrary," I said. "I feel like I've just found it." My mother, ever the social coordinator even in catastrophe, seemed fixated on the practical. "You bought a yacht? With what money?" This is irresponsible." "With my money, Mom," I said, the steel entering my tone. "The money I earned. It's quite a useful asset for a tech CEO, actually. We're calling it a floating innovation retreat. You named it that to spite us." Julian snarled. I looked at him, at his perfectly tailored tuxedo now seeming like a costume, at the rage that made him look small and petty against the vast, beautiful backdrop of the sea and the sky. "I named it," I said slowly, as a reminder. A reminder that the things you value are just things. They're not character. They're not heart. And they're certainly not family. I looked at each of their stunned faces. "You told me I wasn't classy enough for your party. You were right. I'm not. I'm having too much fun at mine." I turned to Leo, who had appeared silently at my side, a solid, supportive presence. Leo, darling, shall we go check on that caviar? We turned our backs on them. We walked away from the railing and descended into the warm, glowing heart of the yacht, where music was playing and my friends were laughing, the sounds of genuine joy muffling the distant, sputtering outrage from the dock. The rest of the night was legendary. The chef outdid himself. We danced on the sundeck under strings of lights. At midnight, Askin erupted in a spectacular display of fireworks. We cheered, hugged, and toasted, not just to the new year, but to authenticity, to chosen family, and to the sublime satisfaction of living well as the best revenge. The fallout was nuclear, and it played out over texts, emails, and furious voicemails I mostly didn't listen to. My parents were humiliated, appalled, concerned for my mental state. Julian sent a lengthy email about the permanent damage I'd done to the family's reputation. Aunt Judith, the judge, left a glacially cold message about adolescent displays of petulance. I didn't engage. I had said all I needed to say from the flybridge. Instead, I posted a single, beautiful, professional photo on Instagram on New Year's Day. It was a shot of the yacht's stern, not classy enough, gleaming proudly, with the sparkling Mediterranean and the coastline in the background. The caption was simple: "Cheers to new horizons. Grateful for a year of living life on my own terms. Hashtag New Year, hashtag My Harbor, hashtag No Regrets." It went viral, of course. Tech blogs picked it up. Forbes did a follow-up piece titled "The Viral Yacht That's Redefining Class in Silicon Valley." My app download skyrocketed. I was inundated with messages of support from people who had families that made them feel less than, from people who were told they didn't belong. My family, predictably, was apoplectic. The scandal was the talk of their club. But a strange thing happened. A few cousins I'd always been fond of, but distant from, reached out privately. "Holy shit, Sloane, that was epic," one wrote. "I've always wanted to tell Julian where to stick his tie pin." Another aunt, my mother's younger, black sheep sister, sent a bouquet to my office with a card. Finally, someone said it. "Proud of you, kid." The fortress of their approval had cracked, and in the cracks, I saw I wasn't alone. I had just been the first one brave enough, and financially independent enough, to lob a cannonball at the walls. It's been a year now. I split my time between my loft and the yacht, which has become a genuine sanctuary and a brilliant business tool. My relationship with my birth family is cordial but distant. We exchange texts on birthdays. We do not discuss the yacht. They did not get an invitation to my engagement party to Leo, which we held, of course, on the boat. Sometimes, the old ache whispers, the little girl who just wanted her big brother to be proud of her, who wanted to be deemed good enough by her parents. But the whisper is faint. It's drowned out by the sound of the waves against the hull, by Leo's laughter, by the ping of a new idea from my brilliant, unclassy team. Julian's text was a gift. It was the permission slip I never knew I needed to stop trying to fit into a world that didn't want me. It freed me to build my own world, one where the only standard is joy, the only dress code is authenticity, and the only membership requirement is a good heart. They told me I wasn't classy enough for their party. They were right. I was meant for a much bigger, brighter, more beautiful one. And I'm the one who gets to write the guest list.